welcome to this video. So if you guys didn't know yet, I had a first video where you could prepare the interview process, and if you want to, you could check that out. I will leave it in the description below. So today, to continue that process, I will be talking about during the interview process. So what you should do and how does the interview look like. So for the past few weeks or even months, I have been doing a lot of kinds of interviews, and I want to get about the insights of those interviews and what I did to handle the hard parts. So yeah, let's start with the introduction process. So a little tip, try to speak a little bit deeper than you usually do. So for me, I was kind of lucky that when I speak English, my voice is automatically lower. I think it's in the scientific process that when you talk a little bit deeper, people will take you a little bit more seriously than when you talk a little bit higher. That is what I try to do during those interviews. During the introduction process, they would usually introduce about themselves first, in which part of the company they are in. Are they HR? Are they working on a research and development? And then it's your turn to introduce yourself. I usually kind of mirrored the things that the interviewer said. So if they're talking a little bit long about themselves, about their experiences, about what part are they in the company, what they did in the company, I also prepare these kinds of short introductions or a little bit longer introductions. But when you introduce yourself, give the most important things that you can find, like which university are you, in which major are you in, or what kind of work experiences have you also had, and those important things that has something or relevant to do with the company itself. So that is the introduction part. So the second part is usually the description of the company. This is usually a really fast bomb for me, like a fast German bomb. It's either them using a presentation to tell more about their company, or they would usually just speak or describe for a long time about their company and what is your work, what is your job descriptions. So I actually have some preparations that you can do, but that is in my first video. You can check that out in the description. I did that. It's really hard to concentrate when you're just trying to look at him and try to understand what he's saying. I did an experiment. I just tried to listen to him, what he's saying, and it's really hard because he's speaking so fast, and I have to understand it also as fast as I can. So what helps me is really writing some of the points that he's saying, just in case that you forgot. Because I think these part of the descriptions that he said about a company is really important about you to ask about the job descriptions that you do, or when you want to ask him about the company itself. I think just write it down. Don't overwrite it as well, because if you overwrite it, sometimes you're gonna miss some important informations there. But just write as much as you can, the thing that you think is very important, or things that you could probably ask them later on after the interview, and so on. The third part is going to be about your CV or about yourself. There's actually also this thing where they're going to switch it up between English and German. This happened 90% of the time that I had my interviews. They always in the middle, they kind of change it directly, or they would suddenly say okay, maybe you could tell more about yourself using English language. But sometimes when you did do that directly and you don't know what is happening, it is kind of surprising for you. Even it was surprising for me, even though my English is actually better than my German. I was still kind of shocked, and my brain is just nah. Okay, I had to switch directly to English. What happened? What I would do is just take a deep breath. Nothing would happen if you took 1 to 5 seconds just to take a deep breath and just let your brain just flow on its own. I don't think it's a bad idea if later on you would demonstrate a really good English speaking skill. So just take some of the time to think and analyze the things that you want to say, and I think that's better than when you just started answering it as fast as you can. The third thing was they will open up your CV and also your job description, and they would ask you a lot of questions. For example, if in their job description you need to be able to program, they would ask you questions about how much is your level of Python, how much is your level of Excel, what did you do during the university days, and they would also see your projects during your university. They would ask what did you do here, what do you think about teamwork, and so on and so forth. And that is why like you should really put like your CV also there just in case that you forgot about something. So that is basically it. Like during this interview process is basically this thing. And then this happened to me like 50% of the time during the interviews. The fourth one is usually they would ask about your problem solving skills. And what I mean by that isn't like they just ask you, are you good at problem solving? Yes. No, not something like that. They would usually like ask you with a description about things. For example, if they're a logistic company, they would ask you, okay, we have this problem, we have this problem, we have these resources. Try to like solve these problems. There are really hard questions that sometimes I can answer and I have to like think a lot about like how to answer them. I was even like once critiqued by one person. She was saying that I was this kind of person who is very focused on solving the problem first rather than finding out what the problem actually was. And that actually like blowed my mind because I think like most of my life I've been always just like, okay, problem solve, just trying to find like the answer directly without even searching about the things first. So she was like saying to me like, yes, you need to be able to like know what is like happening first in the company, what are the resources, could that be a problem or things. You need to be thinking about that as well. But this fourth one, it rarely comes. Sometimes it does come, but sometimes it does not. So, but I think like you should also like prepare for it. Search for the internet, especially like in what area is your company, and then just try to find problems that resolve around that company. And I think like maybe that is like a really good exercise for that. So the last part would actually be about extra questions. There are some company that usually finishes after the problem solving part, but there are also some companies that are still probably not sure about your skills, so they still have extra questions and they usually like ask it in the end of the interview. Most of the things that they usually ask me about is my German level. I think it's also because like I wasn't like a really sure person about myself. I wasn't really sure about my German skills. And that is why they asked me like, so yeah, I know you've gone to like a bachelor's in Germany and all of your modules are in Germany. What did you do? And sometimes when I was like really nervous, I just told them like the whole story, you know, like how I wasn't really concentrating during my classes, how I have to like come back and translate it all over again, blah blah blah. And I don't think that is actually a really good impression for them because like it kind of like showed them like I am weak in German. I think like if I have to do it again, I would say yes, German is hard, but I'm working as best as I can. I learn German every day, even though like in the first days of my classes I didn't understand it. I tried really hard to like understand it at home. I tried to translate it, and then so the next time when I went to the university I could actually understand it. And I am very confident that I could understand the German language when I am doing an internship at your company. You need to like be sure of yourself, okay? Maybe your German isn't that great enough, but just like be sure, just like make them feel sure that you can do it, like you can understand them in German. Yeah, that is like the last part. And then there are also the times where they also ask you, so yeah, do you have any questions about the company? And I do think that when you ask the company questions, it gives them an impression that you are brave enough to like either feel idiotic or you are brave, you have some like critical mindset or something. So I usually like ask them around 2 to 3 questions. I think 5 is a little bit too much, so I usually ask these 2-3 questions about them. And for example, if you're still unsure about the job description, you could ask them again like, what am I actually going to be doing here? What should I prepare for? What kind of skills would I gain from doing this internship? So yeah, that is like usually like the question that I had. And for example, usually use one question to ask about the company to make sure that I was interested in the company, you know? If for example like during their company presentation something isn't clear, I would like ask them again like, what do you actually do in this part? I myself feel